Have you ever wondered why seed puffs seem to target you? They seem to be drawn to you or attracted to you? Or also why they are associated with wishes? It's because they make vortexes, and this is how they travel great distances. It's also what makes them magnetized to you, this sort of electrostatic attraction. In other words, seed puffs are drawn to magnetic fields and follow natural currents. Whether it is a seed puff, or blowing out a candle in ceremony, or watching a shooting star, those are associated with wishes because they're interactions with vortexes. The idea that gravity is its own force is wrong. It's part of electromagnetism. It's vortex energy. Since we are contained in Earth, we are drawn to its magnetism. It's what keeps us on the ground. But every cell in every living organism creates a magnetic field, creates a vortex around itself that allows it to grow. It's what allows plants to have gravitropism. For insects and birds and bats and other flying machines, they also create vortexes, which gives them this sort of anti-gravity field that allows them to propel themselves. A vortex is a sort of bubble that helps to isolate it from the normal magnetism of the Earth. It's also why tornadoes and hurricanes can lift huge objects off the ground, because if it gets caught in its vortex, all it needs is that wind to propel the object upwards. For us, our heart and our mitochondria generate our magnetic vortex, what gives us the ability to move and grow. When we're depressed or sick, or whenever the heart is weakened in some way, that gravity vortex is not as strong, and this is why everything becomes heavier, it becomes sluggish, everything seems to weigh down on you. But on the other side, when we're happy, elated, when the heart is strong and that field is strong, or what they'll say is you're on cloud nine, you move lighter, you feel high, because this vortex gives you more freedom to move. When that field is weakened, however, you're able to feel the pull of things. You're able to feel these flows and currents. I mentioned in the Phoenix system how the navigators of Polynesian sailors would stay up all day and night, which would weaken their fields. And they did this in order to feel the attraction of everything, to feel the magnetic poles. This is another reason why the idea of gravity is misleading. It's not just an up and down force. It's the attraction of everything, the push and pull. The sailors would feel the rhythms of all these different vortexes, from birds to weather systems to the ocean to distant land masses, and help to navigate them, to give them a direction of where to go. So a weakening of the magnetic field makes you more sensitive to the pull, to the draw, or the magnetism of other vortexes and fields. A strong magnetic field makes you move through the world lighter. It makes you attract things, it magnetizes other things to you because this vortex or gravity field is stronger, it's pulling things. If you've ever had to take a lot of ibuprofen or any NSAID, you may notice that it kind of feels like it kills your soul. What those chemicals do is actually damage and destroy mitochondria in your cells. And the mitochondria, of course, is part of the energy of your body, part of what gives you that vortex, the magnetic field. Some ways to make more mitochondria in your body is cold exposure, like cold showers or being out in the winter. You can also do it through fasting or just improving diet. And probably most importantly, or most beneficially, is being in the sun, and this also helps your heart. So it would strengthen your magnetic field, your vortex. Throughout your life, if you pay attention, you'll notice which sort of things seem to be drawn to you and what things you're drawn to. For me, I encounter a lot of moths, spiders, and beetles, and flies. You could be drawn to bees, or certain plants, or certain mushrooms, or different animals, or different kinds of people, or even other sorts of objects, or rocks, or crystals. You can learn what sort of things your electrostatic vortex pulls and pushes you towards. You can also learn from these different things how they use these vortexes. For example, spiders are very sensitive to electromagnetism, and they use this to navigate. They use it to fly with parasailing with their webs, and they also set up their webs in locations to sort of catch this energy, because other insects that use these fields to navigate will more likely run into their webs because they've set their webs up in these pathways. Everything with a charge or an electromagnetic field or vortex is an ego. An ego is any complete electrical circuit. It's a distinct field, whether it's a computer or a rock or an organism or a planet or a weather system. An ego is the same as a vortex, which is also the same as a wish. Someone with a very strong field has a very strong ego, which means they're very distinct, and they seem to have a lot of gravitational pull towards them. They're always attracting people or things to them. That, of course, can cause problems if they are too obsessed with their own ego, with their own sense of self. But the concept of an ego in psychology is kind of like gravity. It's misleading. It's not bad to be an ego, to have an ego, because everything has one. But at the same time, this idea of dissolving your ego is that weakening of your magnetic field. You become more integrated with the flow of everything because these vortexes have a stronger influence on you. It's the same idea as having presence or commanding the attention of a room, because this sort of gravitational attraction is strong that people are drawn to it. With a weaker vortex, you're able to feel the flow and rhythms of these different currents. You can feel how everything is pushing and pulling. With a stronger vortex, you don't feel that because that bubble stops these different forces from penetrating it. That gravity is kind of isolated, it's on its own. And that's why a big personality, for example, tends to become self-obsessed. In both cases, it can be either good or bad. Ultimately, it's supposed to fluctuate. There's times when you need to be strong and sturdy. You need to be isolated and protected from these different fields. You need to be able to attract things to yourself. In other cases, you need to be able to feel the flow of things because you need to get a read on what's going on in the world and the sort of path you need to take. Sometimes you need to navigate, and other times you need to create. There's a lot that relates to microbes with this, but I think I'll have to save that for another video. We could also take a look at various religious practices and what that does or what that's about in relation to these vortexes and magnetic fields. And we can also take a look at other cultural practices or other things that humans or animals do, such as the Polynesian sailors, just for more examples and understanding the different ways in which this sort of operates. I had a conversation with some of the people in my Discord a few weeks ago, and it was about how dogs spin around before they go to sleep, and comes from this idea that they're sort of breaking free or untethering themselves from all of these different magnetic fields and all these different pushes and pulls of these tethering gravitational forces. It allows them to sort of recenter themselves and give them space to sleep. And we can do the same thing. Sometimes we're caught in these webs of all these different events, all these different attractive magnetic forces, these influences tethered to us, and just spinning can help to break that, to help us get us out of that web. Or if you need to be able to feel what's going on, you just close your eyes and sway with it and learn how to kind of tap into the Phoenix system to get an understanding of what's going on around you. We also say something like the gravity of a situation, because it's so central to all of this current kind of coming to this single point or single moment. Gravity is not this distinct and separate force. It's just part of all of these different ideas that you've encountered and that you've heard about, even from ancient times. This idea of wishes, of luck and serendipity, of encounters, of meetings, and the push and pull and the rhythms and flow and flux in life, and all those other kind of words and ideas. And it's these vortexes, these magnetic fields. But you can go and experience and feel these things for yourself, and that's the whole idea of the Phoenix system. It's the vortexes and the worlds that they create, and the worlds that you can experience